Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another fantastic episode of OnReviewCast. And guys, I'm back, but first of all, just want to apologize for the long delay of the long hiatus away from from you guys, my fans, my adoring public of fans, all five of you, all five subscribers, and that shout out to that comment that told me to definitely keep making videos. Definitely will. We're never gonna stop here at OnReviewCast. But yeah, I've been away for a while, and we're definitely gonna get a little bit into that today on review. We're taking a look at House of the Dragons, episode 2 on review.
HBO series. House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 2.
I'm back again. Welcome back to, me. I'm your host, Ash. If this is your first time there joining us, we are the OnReviewCast. Just me here, Ash. And the lovely Linda, of course. And this is your go-to review for all things media and entertainment. And just like every other episode, guys, we're going to start the episode off with a summary, courtesy of Fandom of Season 1, Episode 2. And this episode is entitled The Rogue Prince. Premiere date was August 28th, 2002. And this is the synopsis, courtesy of Fandom. Rhaenyra oversteps the small councils, and Viserys is urged to secure the succession through marriage. Daemon announces his intentions. Yeah, so this episode was, I think, a pretty decent one. It definitely solidified a few things in terms of how ridiculous medieval times were, really. And we really started to get into the politics of, what it means to be a king, what it means to be a princess, what it means to be a prince, the family dynamics of essentially the family dynamics of royalty. And we definitely dive into that. But before we dive right into the episode, guys, I just want to say, sorry for the long hiatus. I've been dealing with a lot of personal stuff, and in terms of growth and trying to finish up some stuff. I was actually recently in school for music production and making some music. So look forward to that, guys, and seeing and hearing some tracks that I'll probably be either linking or releasing, as well as trying to drum up some hype around my music. The first one's definitely going to be about some familiar media that we all love and enjoy, and is near and dear to our hearts. But yeah. Anyway, let's get on with the review. So the review of this episode, like I said, this episode really dives into family politics and what it means to be a part of the royal family, like I said before. And honestly, it wasn't really a fast-paced episode. Nothing really jarring or really crazy actually happens, within the episode. Essentially it's really about, I think we learn a little bit more about Rhaenyra in this episode. We learn about how she seems to be a very independent kind of person. She seems to be very you can already kind of see this whole strength thing within her. And it's not an uncommon thing, I guess, within the whole Game of Thrones realms of reality to have these strong women doing these things. And I mean, I think I talked a little bit about this in previous episodes, but God bless God bless females in general, especially during those times, because man, honestly, I mean, think about it, some of the things we discussed in the last episode, the struggles with childbirth and the struggles with like going through childbirth and going through things without like, epidurals on, you got a medication and you might die during childbirth, having to make impossible decisions. So it started off on a very, like the last episode, it starts off on a very strong note. But I think unlike I said, for previous Game of Thrones unlike previous Game of Thrones, not uncommon like previous Game of Thrones characters, female characters, Rhaenyra definitely proves and shows her strength, I feel, at least throughout this. And throughout this episode, she's kind of a rogue. She kind of does go rogue, like how the episode title kind of entails, where she kind of goes off to fuck about and tries to stop basically a bloodshed, and she does that all by her own, without listening. She didn't really disobey her father's orders. I was going to say she disobeyed her father's orders, but she didn't really disobey her father's orders. She just kind of had her own plan and decided to go her own way about it. And that's kind of like exemplified at the beginning of this episode, without even like knowing the title. It's going to be a Rhaenyra episode, when she was kind of picking out the different kinds of knights who she wanted. And at first, like, you kind of get the sense of like, well, wait a minute, is this a punishment? This is probably a punishment or something for speaking up, for piping up. It's a punishment for piping up in the meeting, the council with the king. And this is after her whole, announcement that she's being the succession. So she kind of overstepped a little bit in terms of like, because I guess she thought that she could like actually provide like, and like, well, she's a child, but they dismiss her because she's a woman and she's a child. But she kind of oversteps, I feel like, maybe a little bit in trying to offer her advice during the council. And it's kind of like, womp womp, like, yeah, we kind of like relate and feel to her a little bit there in terms of like, because we've all been there, right? We've all been like probably in a meeting or in a group setting or class setting or something like that. And, we answer or something, and it's kind of like, or we give our opinion, and it's like the crowds are not necessarily feeling that. You know what I mean? The crowd doesn't necessarily agree with you on that one. And well, I mean, honestly, it happens. But get over it, and you kind of roll off, roll with the punches, and dust yourself off and be like, okay, like, all right, like, get back to it. Like, just, you shake it off. And in terms of shaking it off, she kind of just went off to do her own thing, and we didn't really notice this would be she kind of be the forefront of this episode in showing like how resilient and strong she is, and how capable and how useful she actually is, as opposed to like how sometimes certain female characters are painted in the in other genres or in other kind of work, how they're regarded in this world, I guess. So yeah, and then we switch to the other scene, and it's kind of like this fuckery's still going on, right, with the king and Alicent, and it's and we all kind of see like what's coming, and we definitely see it at the end of the episode with the announcement that's made. Also, guys, you should be watching the episodes beforehand before actually watching this. Hopefully you are. Spoilers alert. Hopefully it was like 8 minutes into this podcast, and like we should know by now, like, spoilers galore, aloo, I don't know, whatever you say, but there's definitely going to be spoilers in this. And anyway, so the fuckery between her and Viserys is still going on. Again, it shows the signs of the times, and the sign of the times of fuckery of what women had to endure during the medieval times. But man, that shit would never fly. Well, it doesn't fly. I mean, like, obviously, like, fucked up things happen all over the world. But I think she's portrayed as like being like, what, 15 or something like that. And Viserys is like this. He's not like a old man, not yet anyway, because we know what happens. But he's definitely aged out of her range, and it's but it's that easiness that makes it entertaining, right? That's the easiness that makes it like engaging for what we like as like humans, what we find entertaining, I guess, as humans. That's why they do it, and that's why they're doing it. It's the shock value. Oh, shock and yeah. Anyway, so we still see that the relationship between Rhaenyra and Alicent is still strong. So they're solidifying also in this episode that their relationship and their bonding over, you know, their moms that have passed is still strong, and she's kind of teaching her how to pray. And it just, I think that they do this because they want to show that, you know, there was a connection, definitely a strong connection there between Alicent and Rhaenyra, and there was a real friendship, a real bond there that essentially towards the end of it makes a greater impact as to the announcement that comes along with the king. But we'll get some more in-depth definitely discussion about that as well, probably later on. But yeah, I just think that, like I said before, like the theme of this whole well, not Game of Thrones in general, but how they frame female characters in terms of Game of Thrones, definitely strong characters, but they also show, I guess what that makes it engaging, they also show how they have to overcome and triumph over this, like, it's almost seems like, and sometimes is like defying odds, really. So, like, yeah. It's going back to the main theme, I think, of this, though. And I think it's like family and families amongst the Valerians and the Targaryens and Targaryens. So something fucked up that's suggested. So this episode basically happens is that essentially happens is that, and I hope that you guys are following this, because this is kind of hard for me to get like on the first take, I guess, first watch of this. The king's sister, I'm pretty sure from what I understand, king's sister and her husband has essentially, they have a problem with the crab feeders in this episode, and they want to make sure that the house of Valerian, which is them, because her husband has Valerian blood, and, you know, the Targaryens, which is his sister, and him, that he has a secure footing in his household as well, because right now Rhaenyra is the only heir to his throne. And so they come up with the suggestion after, and the thing is, like, it's kind of like from Game of Thrones, like everybody's always scheming, everybody's trying to get power, everybody's trying to get to the top, they're trying to play the game, right? The Game of Thrones. These two offer their daughter's hand to the king. Now, we all know I mean, I guess at this point, like, I mean, you're into the spinoff of Game of Thrones, and you're into the part of where, you know, we've seen some gruesome things happen in Game of Thrones, and we should know by now what Game of Thrones is all about. But it's still shocking. I don't know why. Even on the first watch, it's still shocking to understand and hear that these two are offering their child's hand in marriage. Because the first time we watch it, it's kind of like, oh, they have a daughter for him. And it's kind of like, okay, cool. But like, oh no, she's like way underage. It's way inappropriate. And like I said, like, for the shock value, but still, like, the idea of that is still, it's like, ugh. But they suggested, and it's more or less just really a ploy to get, you know, ahead, I guess, in their standing, and as well as so they could gain more power for themselves. And I don't think, like, I know this is all fiction, but like, personally, I don't really think that I could ever do that, right? I don't think that I could ever offer my child's hand in marriage. I think that's a very fucked up, probably was why they got rid of it eons ago. But, you know, but some cultures today, and I was thinking about it, some cultures today actually, they still kind of do that. They just trying to set people up so they can continue their line and ensure that they have their line continues. I know some people in certain parts of different countries, they have people that are kind of like, their parents set them up with the certain people or whatever, or they have arranged marriages and planned marriages, or planned people who they're supposed to get married to and do this, that, and the other thing with, and build this family. And to a certain degree, I guess I kind of like get it, sorta, because you want to make sure that, you know, the person has someone. You want to make sure that your kid has someone. You want to make sure that your kid is well looked after, I want to say. Is well looked after in terms of, like, if you were to ever pass away, and like then they're not alone and your family can continue. I guess I get that. But at the same time, I guess I would never really feel comfortable, even if it was a part of my religion or my culture, or you know, whatever it is. I don't know how comfortable I would feel, like, you know, telling my daughter, hey, you go bang this guy, or our son, to tell him that you go bang this girl and make a family. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, I don't know, a very archaic kind of way. And not every part of the world I know believes in that and does that. But like, I don't know. I just don't think that even if it was a part of my religion, like, I would understand, and I still understand and respect, you know, other people's beliefs and cultures and stuff. I'm not saying anything's wrong or anything, and that's what you believe in, that's what you think how things should go, and that's how you feel about it. I mean, sure, like, that's fine, but I mean, I don't ever see myself, you know, trying to marry off any of my children, really. And if I had, and because I guess, like, I related back to myself, because if I had that done to me, or have that set up for me, I mean, I appreciate the, you know, offering, I guess, I suppose, if that's what you want to call it. But really, I don't really, I just wouldn't feel necessarily comfortable with, like, you either have to marry this person, or you're being set up to marry this person. If it's like a setup, like, I guess, like, towards like a date or something, like, hey, like, you know, check this guy out, like, check this girl out. Sorry guys, I'm, again, heterosexual, male, straight. Check this girl out, and you know, if you like her, you know, see where it goes, or whatever. I'm fine with that. But it's like, no, you have to marry her. It's kind of like, it's gonna be no for me in that kind of arrangement. And it also has to do with, like, the fact that, like, I guess I kind of take that kind of stuff, like, kind of sort of seriously, as it's all about perspective. I think even if it is a part of your religion or whatever it is, you know, or your beliefs or your other people's beliefs who brought you up, I feel as though that, you know, you should definitely have some kind of perspective and or say in terms of like, you know, who you marry. You got to be comfortable at the end of the day because it's a long commitment kind of thing. Anyway, going back to the meeting that that happens between Viserys and, you know, this child. Basically, they set them, like I was saying, like they set this child up with him, and it's absolutely ridiculous. I think, in my opinion, that, you know, he's to be expected to marry this child bride. And the thing is, the fucked up thing is, like, and obviously, like, if you watch the episode, that doesn't necessarily how things go down. But like in other stories, I'm sure in the past, somehow, if we look through some history book or something like that, fucked up things like this has gone through and has happened. And then that's why, you know, George R.R. Martin has pulled a lot of this material from, like, you know, the past and like the past, and essentially everything that's every kind of crazy fuckery that's happened in the past as well. But during that meeting, I mean, you could tell how fucked up it was and how manipulated and controlled she was. You know, given the times when she says, when Viserys starts to ask the questions like, "Oh, what did your parents tell you, like, about this arrangement or whatever?" And what did your father say? He's like, and he basically, what it came down to was like, she said that, like, oh, her father told her that this is for the good of the kingdom, and this is for, you know, so he can continue his line, and then this is the obligation and the duty. Yeah. And then her mother is kind of like, oh, my mother said I wouldn't have to bed you until I was like 14 or something like that. And that line, you know, ugh. That line, you know, just look, okay, that was a rough, again, it's like fiction for shock value, I get it, but like, that was just that one was scathing a little, like, that was really showed the grossness, I suppose, of that time, and how sadly manipulated. I mean, I guess if you think about it, really, like, all of them are to a certain degree, because but it's kind of significant because it shows like the generational damage on these people, if you think about it. Because like Viserys and them, not only is basically that his like second cousin, gross, but it's also a child, grosser. Like, I mean, but again, it's for the shock value. But again, he's pulling from things that probably like has happened in the past. But again, the generational trauma, the generational damage that's probably happened within this family, Viserys the king, and even Rhaenyra, all of these characters, they probably think that this shit is normal. That's why they just like let it happen. They let it happen. They think that this is just ordinary shit, everyday things. These things happen. Grown-ass man marries a child, or because they think it's right, and they have to ensure the line. They have to ensure that these children are born into this kingship or this royalty, this royal family has to be secure. And when in reality, I mean, honestly, like, I mean, if that's how you feel about it, it doesn't have to be a child. Jesus Christ. Oof. It's kind of rough. But I something we also get like as a part of this as well, I think, is Rhaenyra's talk of doubt with the princess that never was. I'll talk about that first a quick second, just because like that scene kind of it just kind of just I think bolstered the fact that it also kind of like it kind of brought into some questions if you weren't thinking about it right there and then. It's kind of like, okay, like even if you hadn't seen Game of Thrones, even if you haven't seen, I don't necessarily know anything about House of the Dragons, Game of Thrones, anything like that, and you just know about how royal family works in terms of the kingship and etc. I mean, like honestly, like we know that some fuckery happens within the royal family, and a king. It's more likely than a king that back, especially for back then, it was sexist, crazy sexist time, that a king rules, and that they prefer, a man to that of a woman. And as fucked up as that is, I mean, there are different scenarios in terms of where, and I think they talk. The theme kind of comes a little bit as a little kind of like hinted at a little bit stronger when she goes off to ride and find Daemon. But so many things could happen to Rhaenyra to secure, just to deplete Viserys's the current king's line, and just to destroy that. And I guess, like I said, like there would be like villains and people who would want to kill her just to claim the throne, like his brother, which makes sense. And because those things happen, those things are have been known to happen. And you know what's fucked up too? Like these characters know this. They know that these things happen, and to a degree where the language and the dialogue between them, hints towards it, but it doesn't necessarily say it outlandishly, but we're kind of like all thinking it. And they play on that idea of, hey, like royalties and kingships and royalties and all that stuff and families get really messy and really crazy when it comes to being a part of that family, where family kills family just for the crown, or family kills family just so other people wouldn't get the crown. And case in point is that's the whole point of Daemon. He brings that tension of what if I was to harm my own family, or what if I was to bring my own family harm? It would benefit me in the long run in terms of like kingship and becoming king, gaining that power. But they're my family. And it's that conflict and that tension that creates the ideal environment for this show to essentially thrive. So in this episode, we find out, speaking of Daemon, we find out that Daemon has gone to this sequestered place, and he's stolen a dragon egg along with a dragon. We kind of saw that towards the end of the episode. And they start to look at Daemon and to correct the issues. I guess they didn't know that he had stolen these eggs or whatever, or this egg. And they're gone off to, the king has just now dispatched a group of men to, he was going to go himself, and then kind of like, no, I don't think that that'd be appropriate. I'm going to get him back myself. But yeah, they go off and they try to stop. Well, not stop, but they try to retrieve Daemon, and they try to the main essential thing I think, which is weird too. I want to talk about real quick is that they didn't really. I don't think it was a big deal that he took a dragon. I don't think that was a big deal. What I think was the big deal what is the big deal essentially is that he took an egg. It wasn't the fact that he took a dragon. It's the fact that he took a dragon's egg. And that's because, I guess, watching as a fan and someone who has, who's seen all of Game of Thrones, one, and who knows what Game of Thrones is basically about and where Game of Thrones has essentially come from. I guess this is significant because we kind of know that the dragons, and this is, again, remember this is in the past too. So it hasn't happened yet, but dragons eventually become extinct. Dragons get wiped out until, Daenerys Targaryen comes back and the whole thing happens in Game of Thrones. But dragons are extinct. And I guess they take it as a personal thing or a more of a crime because the reactions on everybody's faces it's like, oh, you took a dragon. Oh, you took a dragon's head. But it's like, okay, you took a dragon, but it's like, oh, a dragon's head too? No. That's kind of like, but I guess the reason, I guess I want to say that the reason that they acted that way was more or less because I guess they understand that the dragons are a huge part of why they reign, and they see that, which is actually kind of so sad. They kind of talk a little bit about this towards the last episode of the first one, about how the dragons, the so-called beasts, are commanded by these men, and realistically, that's not what it is. It's a kind of like a faint kind of power, if you will, because this is a fucking huge ass lizard dinosaur looking fucking thing. You think that really that you can control this large beast like one man? Like the dragon is, if you think about it, is being nice as shit for letting you ride it in the first place and having a connection and bonding with it. Sure, it shows a true bond between creatures, I guess, in general. But it's a faint power, and I guess like that's where the real that's where the real disdain that came from. And I think it was more of an insult because the child that was never born, that was supposed to be born to the king, that's the dragon's egg that was for him. And so it was more of a no kind of thing. But yeah, that's why I think it was such a more of an offense, because that egg was, the dragon's egg was intended to be the egg for the son of the king, and what passed away in the previous episode. If you guys had watched it. But yeah, so they go off to get Damon and to retrieve this egg, and fucking everybody's wilding out. They are ready to fucking go, right? These guys are ready to fucking go. But what stops them is, and what essentially stops them in the tracks, is the showing up of a random dragon, and it's kind of like, oh shit, we know what's about to happen, or we know who's coming. Most likely, who's gonna be there, and it was Rhaenyra. It was Rhaenyra, and she came out to stop this, much like the episode title suggests, like a rogue princess, because nobody fucking told her to go there, and got involved in all of this. And yeah, it was kind of actually, again, showing her like strength, and her like she wants to be, she's actually doing something. She's actually a character that matters. And I will say that, like, I mean, here's the thing. I love, and I want to talk about this real quick. It's a little bit off tangent, but I gotta say, female characters and females in Hollywood, and Hollywood in general, is becoming more diverse. It's definitely, as opposed to like years ago when it was kind of fucked up and it's just like a bunch of like non-colored people and the racism shit happening, and just like perspectives on different things were essentially wrong. But it's definitely changing, and we definitely see, like I was talking about earlier, with the Game of Thrones characters being female, creating these strong female characters for creating these strong female characters for these series, and I think it's great. It's awesome. However, here's what I don't like. I gotta point this out because I feel like it's something that needs to be addressed, and this is definitely my opinion of your host here, Ash. I don't like when I love female empowerment things. Yeah, female power, female positivity. It's cool. Okay, cool, great. But here's the thing. Do not use that as a fucking crutch. Do not use that as a fucking crutch when your movie sucks. I don't know what movie it was, but someone said a movie sucked. It was female orientated. It was directed was a female audience, and it was just specifically made, with female empowerment, female lead energy. I guess we could say that in mind. And that's what it was. But the movie sucked. The movie just sucked. And everybody agreed that the movie sucked. And their defense was oh, you guys just don't understand women and females and all this other stuff. And you're racist and all this other stuff. Not racist. Whoa. You're sexist. There we go. And you're sexist and all this other stuff. You just don't understand females. You don't want females to win. And all this. It's that pisses me off. Oh my God, does that piss me off? Let me give you an example. I guess might be an example. Let's talk about real quick, a little bit divergent. Supergirl. If you guys have seen Supergirl, CW Supergirl specifically, because Supergirl in the DC Comics fucking rocks, dude. She rocks. She rocks with Superman. She's almost as strong as Superman. Not as strong as Superman in the comics, but she's cool. And there's an animated movie where she does some really awesome shit with Darkseid, and she fucks Darkseid up. And while Clark is getting his ass kicked, and Clark eventually helps to defeat Darkseid too, and Darkseid as well. But the thing is, she's awesome in that. She's great, dude. She's fucking amazing in that. But the thing is, she has these things, character development, people, exuding her character very well. It has nothing to do with being a man or a woman. People exuding her character very well. People writing for her very well. People designing her very well in the animation comics, in the animation and in the comics. All these stuff as well. Doing very well. And she's kicking ass. She's amazing. But the live action sucks. And I'm not talking about any of the actors or anything like that, because whatever her name is, Alyssa, whatever her name is, the girl who plays Supergirl in CW, or played Supergirl in CW, none of that was her fault. Everything came down to writing, and in terms of writing and production wise. And the first season of Supergirl, amazing. Second season of Supergirl just fucking sucked. And there was definitely some activists out there at the time that were just saying you guys don't understand female empowerment, blah, 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 all this other shit. I was dude, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Honestly, I hate when you say that, because if anything, girls should be embarrassed that you produce something that just sucks and you rely on that crutch. Oh, you just don't understand the female movement. You just don't understand the female empowerment. Shut the fuck up. Honestly, shut up, because that is not the case. If your movie sucks, it fucking sucks. Don't go out and call people a sexist. That is not right. That is insulting. And that is you're attacking people. That is not right. Look at Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra is a female-oriented character. It's engaging. Most of the females inside of Game of Thrones are engaging, and it's female focused, and it doesn't suck. If the material sucks, it sucks. Okay? Don't go around saying that people don't understand sexist. It's a sexist thing, or people don't understand female empowerment. Because people don't want female characters, strong female characters, because your movie sucks. Look at the girl from Blood Plus. If you guys watch Blood Plus, the anime, or Blood Plus at all, you know it's a female interior character. Fucking awesome anime. There's no excuse for it. Robin the Witch Hunter. Fucking awesome anime. Female-oriented character, female-focused character. Even Soul Eater, the not even Mox Soul, or the main character from Soul Eater, female character. It's amazing. So don't use it as a fucking crutch. Females should be insulted by that when people say that it's because people don't want a female character or whatever it is. That's not the case. Okay? That is not the case. People need to stop that shit. But anyway, slight divergent on the cast, but that's just my opinion. That's my opinion. I feel like it's gross because there are tons of female characters out there that are fucking awesome, but you guys, whoever's in charge of it, y'all let other characters get fucked up, female characters get fucked up like Supergirl, because you don't market it properly or whatever it is, or the writing sucks or whatever it is. It's other factors that happens, not because she's a female or because we're male. It's not, gender has nothing to do with it. If your character sucks, it sucks. The end. Back to the episode. Okay. So you were winding down more closer towards the end of the episode. And it's looking like the king is being pressured, and he has had talks with his daughter at this point about, he has to continue his line, and he has duties to the king to continue his line. And again, we see this generational, but also you think about it, we kind of get it, like that's your duty, but also why? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Why do this? Why go about having to feel like you have to do this, or feeling like you need to marry someone, or you need to continue your line in such a way? It's because of the generational trauma that he's been taught. It's because of the things that he's been taught. And that's kind of sad, really. All of them, or their forefathers told, or their ancestors told them that, hey, this is the correct way to do this, and this is what we do, this is how we do it. And it's not necessarily being right. I'm pretty sure we could all kind of relate to this. We feel pressure and anxiety coming from all influences of life, but more or less the strong influences from those who brought us up, family, your parents, the people that raised you have a huger impact or a stronger influence on, how you feel about certain topics and certain subjects, and what you feel is right, what you feel is not correct. They have a huge impact on that. And then sometimes that shifts when you grow up and you have a different perspective and you experience the world for yourself. It's part of growing up, but you could definitely see the scars of past traumas within these characters, and I think that's actually particularly interesting. So Rhaenyra gets back from basically stopping a fucking slaughter from happening, and she is reprimanded by her father, telling her that she shouldn't have done that. And I mean, like, understandably so. Like, if you were like a parent and she went rogue. She went rogue, man. I mean, like, he scolds her for it, and they sit down and they have a chat, and he's kind of like, like, what the fuck, man? It's only you and me. Like, I have one kid left. You're my heir. You're the next in line if anything was to happen to me. And like, it's vulnerable right now, And something interesting like that happens in that shot while they're actually sitting there and they're talking about it, is we see kind of like, as we already know kind of happened, but we see kind of inklings towards, what his fate and his status will be as they talk about, her being his only heir, and they talk about how the line has to progress on and how we need to continue and move on. We see little foreshadowings of him being kind of like slowly degrading, if you will. Like with his pinky, if you guys hadn't noticed that, his pinky is still rotting, and that is a huge indication of foreshadowing even from here, episode 2, of all the craziness that happens, that what's potentially will be the lies in the fate of essentially what the king is gonna come with. It's gonna have to endure and come to terms with. Anyway, yeah, but like I was saying before, like any child, like any child, she is reprimanded. She is scolded for being disobedient towards her father and going rogue. And but she did save the day. She did something, and it turns out that like that something was the right thing to do. Was the best thing that could have happened. Because realistically, what would have happened was like Damon would have probably fought those guys. And then it would have kind of been like, well, shit, Damon, I can't just let this go as the king. Like, I'm the king, but I'm your brother, but also your king, so I got to do something about it. And, well, like, honestly, like, what would you, like, I mean, again, just not even watching Game of Thrones, like, and not even watching any of these other series, like, you know, like, at this point, like, what the potential situation is for that kind of treason. He'd probably have to either kill his brother or to prove a point or to maim him to a ridiculous degree. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to do that to his brother. I mean, his brother's been acting out, but it doesn't seem like he seems like he's very, so far he's been antagonistic, but he gave back the egg, by the way. We didn't mention in that Civil Scene sequence, he did give back the egg. And after Rhaenyra talks him down, she saves the day and she relaxes everybody and quells the situation. They get back the egg, which was the main thing that they were mostly insulted about, and they basically fuck off and they leave Damon alone. So we come towards the end of the episode, and the king has an announcement, like I was saying, hinted towards throughout this podcast, that hey, he's going to take a queen in a hand of marriage, and he declares that he will marry Alicent, Rhaenyra's best friend. Dun dun dun. And the guy that was who was trying to get him to marry his kid, his cousin's kid, he was outraged. How dare you not want my cousin? How dare you not want my daughter, which is also your cousin, your second cousin, which is fucked up. But I mean, it's Game of Thrones. But it's kind of like it's kind of like everybody's insulted, and it looks, well, not everybody's insulted, but he's so insulted that he leaves the room, and Rhaenyra just looks absolutely crushed and destroyed at this fact that essentially what that means is like I think she kind of understands the gravity of the situation, like the situation that she needs that the king needs I think she understands that the king needs a wife, but at the same time, why does it have to be Alicent, like her best friend? And understandably so, she has a reaction of just being absolutely devastated, realistically. Because like if your dad out there, females, anybody, was fucking like your best friend, like even if you were a male too, like if your dad was fucking your best friend as a girl, like, I'd be like, dude, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, or your dad just had to marry your best friend. It's like, ugh, like what the fuck? Like, yeah, that's good. So yeah, you're definitely gonna feel something. Even if you're not a child, really, like you're definitely gonna feel it. But yeah, that's he declares that, and it's so says the will of the king, and it's disgusting, but yeah. We cut to a scene where we see it's actually Damon and the Valerian, I forget his name, the black guy that's like he has Targaryen hair, but like he's black, and he is married to his essentially his cousin or sister, like I was saying before. Same guy was trying to get his daughter to marry the little girl, and he's plotting what seems like almost treason with Damon to do certain things. Now, something I didn't mention real quick within that, he's planning to defeat the crab feeder. He's planning to partner up with Damon to defeat the crab feeder, because realistically, what he wanted was the power when he married her. We wanted the power to actually move about on his own. But yeah, so it looks like he's partnering up with Damon now, and to defeat the crab feeder. I think that's essentially what this ominous villain that they've kind of portrayed. But also something that we didn't notice that actually happens within this whole announcement thing is that the plan for the King of the Hand actually starts to work. It actually starts to work in a way where, because he is essentially pimping out, right? He's essentially pimping it out. It looks like it looks like all her, time spent with the king, consoling him and being there for him and trying to talk to him and all this. His plan of pimping his daughter out seems to have worked. And game is the game. The game is a game. As Omar Little, rest in peace, that actor, used to say, game is a game. Yeah, he looks like he's one step closer to getting his way in the game. And yeah, basically that's it for the episode. Yeah. But before we go, guys, just like every episode, we're gonna do Ash's favorite scenes. This is the segment of the show where I get the top favorite scenes of the episode, and I go through and I decide which one was definitely the best. I think for this episode, the best scene. Well, I know what the best scene was. I'm gonna say that for the top scene, but coming in at number 3, the top scenes I think was the fact that we see the dynamics. I think that was important in this episode of what it means to be a part of this royal family. So the scene actually with the little girl and how we see the emotional damage from the generations past, of how they're led to believe that all of this is quite normal when in reality it is not. Yeah, I gotta say that it's probably my favorite scene because it shows the trauma of what these people think is normal. It shows that you really are in this world. It kind of gravitates you towards this world of like thinking that, oh yeah, this is my duty to have your babies even though I'm like 9 years old. It's gross, but I like the scene because it shows them walking through this like beautiful like garden, which is kind of reminiscent of Game of Thrones. But yeah, I think that's one that definitely comes in at number 3. Number 2, I think, is definitely gonna have to be meeting with the crab feeder. Not the crab feeder, or the talks of the crab feeder, I think, towards the end. Actually, no, you know what? I want to change that. Meeting the bonding scene that was happening with Rhaenyra and Allison. And it kind of shows, because if you know the story, it's the last moment that they have together, sort of kind of as before everything gets fucking out of control. This is the last moment that they have before this is the last moment before they have when they this is the last moment before they have before everything goes crazy and they seem to be friends and happy and good towards one another, and everything is healthy and normal. Just reminiscent of, that very like pure friendship, I want to say. And lastly, my favorite scene, I think, is definitely in this episode, is Rhaenyra actually proves her worth and proves that she's not just another useless female character, or that she is a strong, independent character that's actually fucking awesome, that actually does things, and she stops the bloodshed that could have happened between Daemon and the King of the Hand. All very powerful scenes, and yeah, I think this episode was decent. Definitely wasn't one of the strongest ones, but definitely was a decent episode. So before we go, we're definitely going to hear from our lovely Linda, who's going to give us the on review score.
House of the Dragon episode 2 receives a 3 out of 5.
Well, that's going to do it for me, folks. Thanks so much for listening. Remember to follow and like us on all of our socials, Facebook, the Instagram, the Critter. I really do thank you for being patiently coming out with these episodes. I try to definitely be a little bit more faster with them and them coming out from now on. And I appreciate you guys listening. Thanks again. And lastly, guys, don't forget, be safe, be kind, be you. Take care.